Welcome to Cultivating Courage, a podcast exploring fear, courage, and stepping into a life filled with purpose, connection, and love. On this episode, we're chatting with one of my dearest friends, Allyson. We're talking about the courage to make major life U-turns, jumping feet first into the unknown, and most importantly, toilet paper, over or under. Allyson tells us the right way, so stay tuned. Welcome to another episode of Cultivating Courage. I am your host, Kristin Robinson. Welcome. Today, I have one of my very best friends on, which I'm super stoked about. I've been using the word stoked a lot lately.
You have been.
I'm not sure why.
It's all right. It's a good word.
I feel like it is, and it really does explain how I've been feeling lately.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, I think so.
You should use it then.
Yeah. Anyway, you guys, this is my friend Allyson. She's awesome.
Thank you. Hello, everybody.
So Allyson and I have known each other since college.
Yep.
And she is the VP of sales at a big media company. So today we're going to talk a little bit about career path and what you're up to. But first, is there anything else that our audience should know about you?
Well, I'm happy to be here. I'm glad it's summer. I'm from a small town. I moved to the big city for college where we met. And I think that's about it.
Okay,
Yeah.
Cool. Is there anything that you would tell our audience about me? That just came to
Oh
my
my
mind.
gosh.
I know. I was like,
the pressure.
Ooh.
She's a great friend. I've known her forever. We lived together too.
Yes, we did.
For how long? 2 years?
2
3
or
years?
3 years.
Yeah.
Maybe 3.
Luckily, we both didn't like doing dishes, so there was never an issue with that.
That's correct. Yeah.
But no, she's a great friend, and I'm happy she's doing this finally. She's been wanting to do this for a long time, so very proud of her.
Oh, thanks, man.
You're welcome.
All right, cool. So since we met in college, I thought that would be maybe a good place to start.
Sure.
With kind of what was your plan after college, and what were your career goals, and did you take any particular steps or follow a particular path to find and reach those goals?
Well, it's funny. When I tell my story, everybody's like, "Oh my God." I actually went to college to be a doctor. I went to get a biology major to go into medicine, and the end of my junior year, I just decided I don't want to do this. So, Chris, I think that was the year you and I met.
Yep.
And she was a communications major, and I was
sure
like, "What's up with
was.
this communications major stuff?" Because I had to graduate. And so I became a communications major, and I was like, "This is going to be so hard," And compared to biology, it was a breeze. I was like, "This is the best."
I know.
This is the best year of my college career.
That communications was going to be anything compared to biology.
Calculus, organic chemistry. Yeah. So I switched to communications, and to get a few extra credits, I did an internship at WGN TV here in Chicago in the creative services department. And, I really didn't have anything specifically in mind, but after I graduated, I went to Europe for a month, which was great. Everybody should do it if you can. And I came back, and there was a job opening at WGN for a sales assistant. And I was like, well, I never, thought, I don't know if I want to do the media thing, but I applied for it. It was right after 9/11, so they offered me the job, so I took it. So that's kind of how I kind of fell into the media world.
Yeah. So let's back up, because I'm curious how it was to make that decision to go from biology to communication. For me, I know what my thought process would be and why I maybe wouldn't do it or maybe would, things that would play into making that decision, because it's a big one.
Yes.
And at 19 or 20 years old, I think depending on how you were raised, you're maybe like, oh, I don't want to disappoint people, and I've already been going down this path. So what was the thought process, and how did you ultimately
decide,
kind of make that leap to make the change?
Yeah, it was funny. It was kind of sudden. It was like I'd kind of been kind of struggling. I wasn't enjoying it as much, the classes. And, it's funny, even my parents kind of noticed that I'd kind of lost my zeal for it. Because, I mean, it's, for any science student out there, it's very difficult.
Yeah, intense.
It's very intense. And it was time to start studying for the MCAT test to get into medical school. And I just, I'm the kind of person that maybe thinks about it a little, but then I wake up and I'm just like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
And
the decision's made.
Yeah, the decision's made. And so, my parents, I think, were a little shocked, to say the least. And because I had a science scholarship, I lost my scholarship. Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, but they were very, very supportive. And, I decided to go into communications because I timed it out, and with extra summer and Christmas break, I could get it all done. So I don't want to say I ever regretted it, because I really don't. It's just sometimes I imagine how different it would be. Everybody's like, how'd you end up in media? And then I tell them, and they're like, why didn't you go to medical school? I'm like, well, but I'm a big believer in everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
So it just wasn't meant to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big decision to make at that age,
Yeah.
I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're at WGN.
Mm-hmm.
You're a sales assistant.
Yes.
Which, for our audience, I have to say, as her friend, that was a sweet job.
It was.
I mean,
lots of perks.
Yes, so many perks, you guys. We went to so many Cubs games, Bulls games, White Sox games. We got so spoiled that, like, if we weren't in a box or a suite,
or
we were
on
like,
the floor,
or like, yeah, 3 rows back, we were like, what are these peasant seats?
Oh my God.
Like, oh no, it's not.
What
do we
is
even want to
this?
bother going?
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah.
I mean, it
really
like that.
was.
It was
and
so
and we
fun.
got to eat in the boxes,
Yes.
the sky boxes, which everybody jokes that, WGN paid for all of us to get through our 20s with food. So
Yeah, right?
Yeah,
Yes. And that was the other thing. We were always like, well, did they order the dessert cart?
Yeah. And if they didn't have the dessert cart, it was a little bit of a letdown.
It
wasn't
really
it?
was. It really was.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was so fun.
Yeah, it was. And now in the seats that we sit in, we're like, oh man, now that we're older and we should be sitting in those seats.
Yeah.
We aren't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're still now we are too cheap to buy
to
those
do
seats.
it.
Yeah.
Like, we'll go up. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe once a year we'll
Yeah.
splurge for the good seats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
All right. Yeah. Oh my gosh,
It
that
was
was
fun
so fun.
though. It
Yeah.
really was.
So you're a sales assistant.
Mm-hmm.
You are living the dream of any sports fan,
Yes.
getting paid to eat
And watch my favorite teams.
and watch your favorite teams.
Yeah.
Then what?
So I'd been a sales assistant for a couple of years, and I really liked it, and it's a great place to work. And I just decided I wanted more. I was getting to almost to my mid-20s. Well, I guess it was my mid-20s. And I just, I decided I wanted to do something new and something different. And I'd always kind of wanted to possibly try and go somewhere and live somewhere else for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I left home to come to Chicago, and I'd been in Chicago for several years. And, for some reason, I just had kind of that itch again. And so at the time, Tribune had a sales training program for, younger entry-level positions. And so the GM and the general manager at the station at the time and the general sales managers, suggested that would be something I would possibly be interested in. So long story short, I decided to do it with the knowledge that I would have to move.
Right.
Which, was tough, but at the same time, I was young enough to do it.
Right, for it to be kind of exciting.
To be exciting,
Yeah.
And so I interviewed, so I went through the sales training program.
Yeah. And you didn't know where you were going to
I did not know where
right?
I was going to move at
Yeah.
that time. I actually didn't find out until, a week before I was done, officially done with the program. So, so I didn't know at all.
Yeah,
I went in blind. I went in blind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's for a lot of people. I don't
Yeah.
think they'd be able to do that. They would want the the knowledge of like, okay, like I'm going to go through this program. I know I have to move.
Yeah.
But I want to know where.
Where. Yeah.
Like, where am I going to end up? If I know where I'm going to end up, then that's less scary.
Yeah.
But yeah, to go through the program and be like, you could end up anywhere in the country.
Yeah. Went in blind. So it was a great program. I met a lot of great people, and I ended up being placed in a place I'd never been before, Miami.
Miami.
Yeah. I got placed down there. The first time I ever went down there was for my interview. And the second time was when I moved.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was definitely a lot in a little amount of time, but it was, I just made the decision and went with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you meet people in Miami? Because I feel like I have friends that, have moved to new cities or either recently or in the past about like that same age, mid to late 20s or later. And I think that, when you're in the town that you went to college with, or if you went to college and then moved back to the town you grew up in, you kind of have like those core group of friends. But when you move somewhere where you don't really know anybody, like, how did you meet people?
So I mean, it was comforting knowing I had my core group back here, but I was lucky enough. There was another girl that was placed in Miami as well, and she was from there.
Okay.
And so I became friends with her, and in turn, her group of friends. And, they became my core group of friends down there, and they were all from there. And, here I am from the Midwest. Talk about culture shock, this is big change. But, so I was lucky enough to kind of have an in. And then, I met people at work and, so work. And luckily I was able to meet people through her.
Would you have any advice for people that like maybe don't have that in?
Yeah.
How would you say is a good way to meet people as a grown up?
Yeah, that's hard. I think, I think a lot of people, and, I even noticed it when I came back to Chicago, is that, especially I was lucky I had an in, so not my whole life was not revolved around people at work.
Yeah.
But I think, had I not had that, I think my core group would have been people at work.
Yeah.
And I think that's the first step is kind of, and hopefully a person's lucky enough to have, coworkers that you want to hang out with.
Yeah.
But if not, I also did, I went to different events. I mean, I didn't go alone, but, just different things. And there's intramural sports and it's on the beach. So beach volleyball, so just kind of getting out there and putting yourself out there would be my suggestion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you consider yourself like an outgoing, extroverted
no.
person?
God, no.
Yeah.
I am with my friends.
Yeah.
But no, not until I get to know somebody, I'm very sarcastic. I mean,
Yes.
And, I never want to offend anybody, but no, I would definitely not describe myself as an extrovert by any means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think that like really makes a big difference on how easy it is to make friends, because it's not just like talking to people, it's actually getting yourself to go to the events where you might meet somebody.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of interesting that our core group of friends, I would say 3 out of 4 would be self-proclaimed introverts.
Yeah, with extrovert tendencies. Sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
I've never really analyzed that before this moment, but yeah.
And it's, and even now with like Facebook and stuff, I mean, now you've connected with people you never did before. There's a good chance somebody knows somebody in that city.
Yes.
And it's like, well, hey, introduce me to that person, or, using social media for good rather than bad, that's always a good way of doing it.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, because I had just gotten on Facebook. Heck, I may have been on MySpace still when I moved down there. But, a couple people was like, oh, hey, I got a friend that lives down there. My cousin lives down there. Let me know if you need anything, that kind of thing. So, That would be my suggestion.
Yeah, that's
it's not easy. It's not easy, and you do have to put yourself out there.
Yeah, because I imagine that, you mentioned culture shock. That's a big thing. When I moved to Thailand, that was a big thing. And then not just culture shock, but then, being able to meet people sometimes is just really tough. And then it becomes easier and easier to just hole up.
Yeah.
And then you kind of like become a little sad and miserable.
And I knew mine, there was a cutoff point. I had a 3-year contract. So I knew that, I was not going to be stuck there. I knew that from day one when I moved down there, which I'll have to tell you about that story. But, I knew there was an insight. So, I still had my core group here, which always helped, but it is. It's very easy to kind of just get into your own. Yeah. And you do kind of become, you could become lonely, and I really had to like push against that to.
Yeah. I imagine I would be interested to hear knowing, so we'll go back to the story in a minute, but you just mentioned, you had a definitive like end point. Mm-hmm. You knew you were going to be there for 3 years. That's it. Then you're done. Mm-hmm. So I imagine it could have been very easy knowing that to just say, I'm only here for 3 years. I don't need to make any friends and not do that and just live in kind of a little silo of yourself.
Yeah. Well, and when I first moved down there, I talked about culture shock for a minute, but it really was, because I remember my friend Melissa, who was also in the program with me, she's the one that lived down there. She loved Chicago. She's like, everybody's so nice around here. I was like, well, is it not like that down there? And she's like, no, not at all. And she was right.
Yeah.
It's, and it's, being from the Midwest, you want to be nice and you want to do, but sometimes you just can't be. And you just, you kind of got to decide, all right, am I going to let all these people walk all over me, or am I going to like stick up for myself? And it's definitely, it kind of depends on the city too, and the people that you're hanging out with.
Well, I have to say, one of the things that I admire about you is that you are able to do that.
Yeah.
Because, we were just talking about this last night. I'm very agreeable.
Yeah.
Maybe too much.
And I think I was like, yeah, you are.
Yeah. Yes. And then you said, except towards me, always do what I want.
Yeah.
I think is how that ended.
I think you're right.
But so one of the things I really do admire about you is your ability to just like, A, know what you want, and B, be able to vocalize that. Mm-hmm. Has that always been just how it is for you? Or is did that skill get developed while you were in Miami because of the different vibe of the place?
I was a people pleaser. I probably still am to a certain point. As I've gotten older, I just don't necessarily care. Mm-hmm. As you get older, you kind of have to be a little more selfish. Yeah. And I hate to use that word, but I remember one night, I remember it like it was yesterday. I was worried about, hurting, saying the wrong thing and all this stuff. And, people are very blunt down there. It's just, there is no tiptoeing. There's no sugarcoating, whatever. And, I would worry about things. And I was like, I can either drive myself crazy for the next 3 years, or I can let it go and just stand up for myself, And so, obviously it didn't happen overnight. Yeah. But, I even have a rule to this day. If something's really bothered me or irritated me, I give myself 5 minutes to stew on it. Yeah. And then I'm like, I'm done. Unless it's something that I caused and that, there's something I can control. I always say at work, no one died. Yeah. So, I allow myself 5 minutes. Usually it doesn't even take me that long these days. And, I just put it away. I don't worry about it anymore.
So do you give yourself 5 minutes and then you say, like if somebody else is involved, do you give yourself 5 minutes and you say something, or you give yourself 5 minutes to like, just like stew a little bit and then you're like, okay, I'm over it. I don't need to say anything. Yeah. How do you decide?
So it depends on the situation, and I'm in a position at work where sometimes I have to say something. Yeah. No matter how laid back or mind strong you are, everybody's going to get pissed off every once in a while. Yeah. And, so it's like, I don't like to dwell. I used to be a dweller. I hate dwelling on things. And so I give myself, 5-10 minutes. I think about it, I'll even sometimes write down the email that I want to send.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, I'm just going to hold off on that, obviously. But, sometimes in my job, I do have to say something, and sometimes I let it go because I know everybody has an off day.
Yeah.
It's even like with friends,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we all know we all have our days, and
Yep.
none of us take it personally
Nope.
because,
Yeah.
we're best friends.
Yeah.
And so.
And tomorrow it could be you.
Yeah,
Today
exactly.
it might be my bad day.
You're
Tomorrow
not
might
feeling
be
me today?
Yeah.
All right, no problem.
Yeah.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, it just kind of depends on the situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, audience, I would invite you to kind of take a peek at how you deal with your annoyances. And I'd also invite you to, consider taking some steps that Allyson just kind of laid out, like give yourself 5 or 10 minutes to stew. Write that email, but do not put an email address in the to line.
Correct.
Just
Don't do
in
that.
case, y'all. Yeah.
Correct.
Don't
Correct.
do that. Write that email. Get it out there. Get your feelings and your whatever the feelings are, anger, frustration, disappointment, like really look at what is it about this situation that has me feeling this way.
Yeah. Well, and it allows you to calm down. And if, and like I said, in my position at work, oftentimes I do have to say something back because it's,
right. Providing
millions of dollars
feedback.
on the line,
Yeah.
and so it changes the tone though, instead of, if somebody's irritated, somebody's, already upset or did something wrong, they're probably feeling similar.
Right.
And so it's, if you stop, you can't control them, but you can control yourself. Give yourself a minute to calm down.
Yeah.
Walk away, do something else, and then respond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do something totally unrelated.
Yeah.
Like get
Whether
yourself.
it's your family, friend, work, whatever.
Yeah.
Just take yourself out of the situation for, 5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and one of the things that I was talking to a previous guest about too is the idea of like just completely switching gears to like really snap yourself out of that. So, if you've been sitting if it is the office and you're sitting at your desk, like stand up, like do 5 jumping jacks or
physically walk away. Yeah.
Like go take a walk around the block, do something that switches your brain to say, okay, we're doing something different. I can think about different things. Like,
yeah.
I don't know if that works for you or
It
not.
does. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it definitely does. Usually I'll go on to, I'll go on to working on something else. Sometimes I'll flip my computer off. Makes me feel better. Do whatever you have to do, or the phone or whatever.
Right.
And, but just take 5 to 10 minutes to let yourself, and get yourself under control. Sometimes it's possible. There's other times where, you're having a day and whatever. But my suggestion would be just walk away for a few minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. So you manage people now.
I do.
And
scary, right?
Yeah. So scary. No, I wish that we've never worked together, so I don't know like your work style, but I feel like I would have liked to have someone like you in a management position over me. Yeah.
Thanks.
So what's the biggest challenge do you feel like in managing people?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say dealing with the different personalities.
Yeah.
And time management, and kind of, you have to learn how to, everybody's got their own strengths and weaknesses, and I kind of have to cater to those strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
And so I would definitely say the personalities and kind of finding out what works for that person, especially in sales. I mean, everybody's got their own style.
Right.
And one of the first things I said to myself is, after the first week of being a manager, I was like, oh my God. Because I was like, I'm driving myself crazy. So I had to tell myself, and I still have to sometimes, it's just because they don't do it my way doesn't mean it's the wrong way.
Right.
And so any other managers out there, I would adopt that because, otherwise you're spending a lot of time correcting stuff that doesn't need to be corrected.
Yeah. Well, and not even necessarily just managers.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I feel like that can be applied to all relationships in your life.
Yeah, that is true. Yes. So I adapted that early on, and I will say it helped. Now, I will say I am good at reading people.
Yeah.
Like I can tell when somebody's upset or having a rough day or whatever. And, I'm always like, is anybody going to die because of this, and this? Well, no. Well, then, you're having a day. It's okay.
Yeah.
We'll start over tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that skill is being a people reader?
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like that's a skill that you've always had?
Yes, I do think I've always had that.
I agree. Because I feel like you're really good at reading all of your friends.
Yeah.
And knowing what they need.
Yeah. I can tell when something's wrong. I'm very observant that way.
Yeah.
Like, I can tell something's wrong, what's wrong, So I do feel like I've kind of been like that my whole life.
Yeah.
Even when I was a kid, I remember being able to kind of like read the situation, read the room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think being able to do that is so beneficial.
Yeah.
I'm sure sometimes it is not. I don't know. Is there any downside to being able to like read people that way?
I'm sure there is, but I think it's made me a better manager. So I don't look at it that way. I mean, sometimes I would say yes, because sometimes you just want to be like, just do it. I don't care how you do it. Just do it, but then I have to remember that, I need to take a step back and just feel like, okay, I'm stressing out. It's not that person's fault.
Right. I'm projecting what's
going
on for me.
Yeah. So I try and avoid that. But yeah, I mean, definitely there's probably some downside to it with that aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Managing people and just, I mean,
it's like
work, friendships, all of it.
Yeah.
It's like, I see it as hugely beneficial to be able to recognize and be empathetic to other people. But I also wonder if it could be like overwhelming, where it's just like you're always so in everybody else's head that you're not really like getting what you want, because you're so thinking about like, oh, are they upset? What are they doing? What can I do to help them? And that's probably me.
Well, but no, I understand what you're
saying.
But to a point, I think this is why I'm so exhausted by the end of the day, but to a point, I'm still their manager, and I feel if they're veering off, then I help them. And if they need me to kick them in the ass, I give them a little kick, and, and so, that's why I'm exhausted by the end of the day. But that's kind of where the work-life balance comes in, is that, when I'm done, I'm done.
Yeah.
And obviously, I'm almost friends with all my employees, which, some people look as a pro, but they all still respect me. I've never felt disrespected. So they know how to get a hold of me, but they also are very respectful of my time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They understand like what is a true emergency and what's just an emergency to you.
My definition of one, not yours. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but they're all very respectful. But yeah, I mean, it can get a little tiring, just from one call to another, because we're back to back and having to kind of adjust to everybody's different personality.
Yeah.
But I also think that's kind of what's made my team so successful.
Yeah. I mean, your team's one of the most successful, if not the most successful team in your company, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're great. I mean, I have no complaints. So,
but I think, a team needs a leader.
Right.
The team cannot be amazing without a good leader.
Well, yeah.
So.
Well, yeah. Okay, I'll bet.
Yeah, a little pat on the back there for you. Yeah. So let's talk about work-life balance.
Okay.
What does that mean to you?
It means being able to shut work off completely. And I have become very good at that. I mean, I have a job that I could literally work 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
And, I even tell my people, if you're off, you're off. I don't want to see you on here. If I see people on at night, if you're not, and I'll ping them, if you're not on here for personal reasons, you need to shut down. It'll wait till tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so I'm a big believer, because we do have a very tough job, and people get burned out so easily on it. And so if you don't have that break, everybody needs a break to regroup.
Yeah.
If you don't, even if it's just at night, shutting off at 6:00, everybody needs to regroup. And so I practice what I preach. I mean, I just went on vacation a couple of weeks ago. I ain't checked my email once.
Yeah.
I got a text message from one person, but that was an emergency, sort of. But I said, I'm even to my boss, don't call me, don't text me, literally, unless somebody's dying. Yeah. So, I put up boundaries too. Yeah. You kind of have to do that with your management, not just with your employees, but also with your management of, I'm not going to be answering emails all day, all night. Now, if I am super busy and need to, then I don't mind, because I'm not doing it every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So has it always been that way for you?
Oh God, no.
Yeah. Right? Like, it's all of these things, like,
it's learning.
So for those of you that aren't as old as we are, it's, if you're feeling like you don't have that balance yet, or you don't know how to set those boundaries with your boss, it's a learned skill. It's a practiced skill.
Yeah. And
even when you have it mastered, so-called mastered, you're still going to have days or weeks or months where you just aren't hitting the mark. Yeah. And that's okay.
And that's all right.
Yeah.
That's all right. I mean, yeah, but my last boss, she was great. Loved working for her. But she was one of those, we called her the Energizer Bunny. She was, nonstop, and it was great. But I'm like, I'm not like that. I need a break. And so, early on, when she was sending emails at all hours of the day and night, I just wouldn't respond. Yeah. Because, unless it was an emergency. But, that kind of coaches them that they're not going to get a response every time. Yeah. Whereas I know other managers or employees that were responding and they expect a response. So it's all in kind of how you handle it.
Yeah. What tips would you have? Like, do you have the very direct, like, I think with your new boss, you had kind of a very direct conversation.
I did, yeah.
And it sounds like with your previous boss, maybe it was more habits that you created.
It was
less
more
direct.
Habit,
so like, what tips would you have for people that are wanting, like, oh yeah, that's what I need to set boundaries, but I don't know how. Yeah. Like, what's the conversation look like, or what are some things that maybe they could put in place to help create those boundaries and not feel like a jerk for doing it?
Yeah, no. The first one that I did was email. If she emailed, and even my employees sometimes, if they emailed me past 6:30, I don't respond until the next day. Yeah. Unless I knew it was an emergency. Right. But I also know she had my cell phone, and if it really was an emergency, she would call me on it. Like, we had that kind of, Yeah. And so I kind of started that from the beginning. Yeah. And, when I would go on vacation, I would say to her, I'm really going to try and shut off. I'm really, call me if there's an emergency. Like when we went to Thailand, right? Or when I came to Thailand to see you, I said, I really, unless it's an emergency, you can WhatsApp me, but otherwise, I want to be left alone. And, same thing with this last vacation, I just said, I'm really going to try and shut off, but if there is an emergency, call me, whatever. But I also kept her in the loop on everything, so that when I was gone, she never felt like something was hanging out there. Right. And we had a one-on-one every week, and so I would literally go through probably stuff that she didn't think she needed to know at the time, but then she did need to know. While but she didn't have to bother me because I'd already told her.
Yeah. So planning ahead.
So planning ahead. Yeah.
And good communication.
Yeah. So, and whereas I know she wasn't necessarily like that with other managers. So, I'm just very blunt person too. And, luckily I deliver. So with my new boss, he was a peer, I kind of just laid it out. Yeah. I followed the same. This is how I work. Best. I don't like to be micromanaged. When I'm off, I'm off, and, it would just kind of happened the same way. It's really more actions because if you go in guns blazing with your new boss or
Right.
old boss, they're going to be like, who do you think you are? So it's really more action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like not just action in performance and making sure you're getting the job done and getting the job done well, but action in backing up these boundaries that you're creating.
Yeah.
Because if you say, unless it's an emergency, I probably won't respond to email after 6:37, whatever time you set. But then at 9 o'clock, you're responding to an email that could wait until the next morning. Then,
so if you train them not to expect a response,
right,
then it's not a big deal.
Exactly.
But if they're used to getting a response,
and then you don't respond, yeah, that's when it affects your review and their perception of your work. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's a hard kind of lesson
It's
to learn,
very
but
hard,
I think it's so valuable.
Yeah. You got to have boundaries.
Yeah, you do. And I took a new position at my 9 to 5, and one of the things that I knew from the very beginning, because luckily I was able to watch the person that had the role before me and what they did. And I knew from the very beginning, like, I need to have boundaries or this is going to get really out of control very quickly. And so same, like I'm available all the time. If you need me for an emergency, I will check I do check my email because that's part of my job description.
That is part of your,
is to be available. And so I do check my email. But once I leave the office after, 5 o'clock, I'm not checking my email every 15 minutes.
Right.
I'll check it every hour.
Yeah.
If I'm out at dinner, I'm out at dinner.
Yeah.
And
check it after.
And I'll check it after. And to your point, I carry several phones.
You really do.
And my boss has the phone number to every one of them. So if it's something that is an emergency,
he can call you.
Yeah, give me a call, man. I'm happy to step away for an emergency.
Yeah.
That's what I get paid for.
Yeah.
But if it's not an emergency, then I'll get back to you after dinner, because I just I don't know, with social media and phones and like everything, we're about to take this to a totally different place. But I want to, when I'm out with my friends, I want to be out with my friends.
Yeah.
I don't want to be checking my phone constantly. I don't want my friends to be like on their phones looking at Instagram while we're together.
I hate that.
It's like,
and
what
that's
are you
why
doing?
I usually leave my I totally agree.
I leave mine in my purse almost always. Yeah.
I had an employee that we would be in team meetings and he would be on Instagram.
Really?
He was brand new too. I mean, he got fired like 6 months later, but but I mean, that's what everybody's so conditioned to be on their phone. It's so obnoxious to me.
I agree. And I think maybe it makes us old, but I don't care.
It's rude.
I think it's
rude. It is
agree.
rude. I'm okay if that makes me old. I'm fine,
But you know what else is, there's so many like studies and articles now that come out that say that young people don't know how to make connections.
No.
And that's why, because they're always on their phone.
Yeah.
And they've got this buffer between each other. And so like, I don't know, there's just something that
I don't know how to talk to each other. Yeah.
And it makes me sad.
I mean, I've had a couple of that age group, and it's I kind of got the extremes. I got the old school like us, and I got the stereotypical millennial.
Yeah.
And they didn't last. I mean, like I said, I fired him.
Especially in sales.
Yeah.
My goodness. I mean, that position is all about connecting with people.
Yeah.
And like being able to read people, being able to understand like, what is it that they need?
Yeah.
And how can my product solve that for them?
Yeah. He did not. Yeah. He was not caring.
Versus going into it like, this is why you need my product.
Right.
Without ever really hearing.
Yes. And
what
that's a
are
big
they
issue.
struggling with?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rather than listening to them, they go in with their,
Yeah. Let me tell you why
Let
this
me
is
tell
the
you why
best.
you need us.
Yeah.
Well, that's not how it works.
No.
Yeah.
It might work once or twice, but it's definitely not.
Or you might get kicked out of the meeting.
Right.
Which if I was them, I probably would too. But
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I wish okay, so we're running out of time.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
But I would love to, I really want, because we're friends and I know, like, I also really curious about all the different personalities that you deal with on the client side and how you deal with that.
Oh my God.
And is it similar? Like, do you kind of use the same strategies that you use with your employees? Like, in terms of reading people and like dealing with people, and when do you say something and when do you not say something? Like, because
100%.
I mean, employees are one thing, but clients, I mean, they're paying the bills.
They are paying the bills. Yes, I definitely use that. And, sometimes, I've learned when to push back and being, I don't care how much you pay us. If you talk to me that way again, I'm leaving this room, I understand your concern. You really kind of have to read the room. Yeah. And if you're not good at that, especially in the business that I'm in, it's very difficult. But yeah, I definitely use it. I mean, I was just in a meeting last week that I kind of had to flip back and forth because there were so many people in the room. Yeah. Yeah.
Good guy, bad guy, all in the same day.
All in the same person, all in the same 3 hours. Yeah.
That sounds exhausting.
Yeah, it was. It was a long day, but yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So I think we're in a good place to kind of wrap up.
Yeah.
If you're feeling good.
I'm good. Yeah.
You're like, I'll talk all day or I'll be done.
Yeah.
You tell me.
You tell me.
Okay. So I've only done this maybe one other time and it was like jokingly.
Yeah.
But I'm toying with new things, you guys. So hang in there with me. How do you feel about a quick rapid fire question round?
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ready?
Oh God. I thought you were going to say rap.
Oh no, I can't
and I was
rap.
like, no,
can you rap?
Sorry,
That'd be a new skill that I didn't know about.
No, I can't.
We're learning all new things about each other today, or confirming what we already knew. Neither one of us can rap. Yeah. Okay. Favorite city
in the world or in the U.S.?
Favorite city you've been to. Favorite city you've lived in. Whatever. Favorite city.
Say probably Barcelona.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Favorite food.
Oh God. Pizza.
Favorite movie?
Pride and Prejudice.
Favorite song?
Oh man, it's tough.
I know.
I have the worst taste in music too.
No, it's all.
You know what it is? It's. I don't even think about Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh, nice.
I know, right?
That's not bad taste.
It's a great karaoke song too. Because if you suck at karaoke, everybody else is singing to it, so nobody hears you.
Good call.
Yeah.
All right, that's a little tip, you guys. If you're an awful singer, pick a song that everyone loves to sing along to, and then it doesn't matter if you're bad. Okay, last two.
Okay.
Toilet paper. Over or under? Over.
Which, by the way, there was an article about the patent for that, and it's technically over. Just saying.
There is a right way to do it, you guys. Turns out.
Apparently, yeah.
And because you are single, I'm going to ask your biggest deal breaker in a romantic relationship.
Smoking.
Oh. Mm-hmm. Smoking cigarettes, smoking anything.
Smoking cigarettes.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
Because that's gross.
Yeah.
It's gross, you guys. If you do it, you should stop. It's also bad for you.
Yeah, it is. Get the patch or whatever. Yeah.
Totally. Now you guys know what it's like when I hang out with my friends. Yeah. Just a little insight.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay. So now.
Okay.
I invite all of my guests to do this.
Okay.
So because you are brilliant and wise and a delight.
I'm going to have my family watch the end of this. And
So
say, see, there's proof. Yeah.
Yes, there is. Oh my gosh. I mean, I could acknowledge you for so many things.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes. Yeah. I love you.
I know. I love you too.
So with that wisdom.
Yes.
What would you tell younger us?
Oh my God.
If you got to have a conversation with college Allyson and college Kristin, what would you sit them down and tell them?
Well, it's funny. Somebody just asked me something similar, and they asked what do I regret? And I was like, I don't regret anything, because everything's been a learning experience.
Yeah.
So the one thing I would say, and I mean, I feel like I've kind of followed through on this, is don't be afraid to try something new. If you don't like something, don't stay in it. Don't keep doing it just because it's stable or whatever. I mean, if you want to move somewhere else, move somewhere else.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, move back.
Right.
I mean, I did, and now I have a whole new appreciation for the city,
Yeah.
And so, don't be intimidated. Don't be afraid. And, most importantly, stand up for yourself.
Yeah.
Not just at work, but with your friends. And, and if people are not good for you, then don't have them in your life, you know?
And recognize that that's okay.
That's okay.
Yeah. I think that's like a big thing for everybody, no matter their age, is just recognizing that, like, wanting what you want is okay.
It's okay. Yeah.
Like, you don't have to,
and you don't have to feel bad about it.
Exactly. Like, you don't have to be a jerk about it.
Yeah.
But you don't have to feel bad about wanting what you want and standing up for yourself to make that happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, I struggle with that daily.
Yeah, I used to. I don't so much anymore. I know.
I know you don't.
I know.
And
I used to. But I used to,
like, It's inspiring. Like, that's
like, you don't like me? Okay, well, chances are I probably don't like you either. So
you're like, so let's just not be in each
let's
other's
just
lives.
not talk. Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, let's just coexist if we need to. And if we don't need to be in each other's lives at all, let's just not do that.
Good luck.
Yeah. See you later.
See you later.
Awesome.
Have a great life.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So, do you want people to follow you anywhere?
No, I'm not on anything.
Yeah. JK, guys, sorry. This is your one.
I am like old school.
Listen and look at Allyson.
I have a Facebook page, but I'm never on there. I don't even have a picture.
It's true.
So
she doesn't. It's hilarious, you guys.
You can get a hold of me through her.
If you have any other questions for Allyson, just let me know.
If you followed me, it would be pretty boring because I'm not on anything. So
yeah. All right. So sorry, guys.
Yeah, sorry, guys. I'm boring.
You can follow me on Instagram at Robinson Kristin, Kristin. You can also find information about my coaching business and upcoming workshops and small groups at thrivecoachingstudio.com. You can find the podcast at cultivatingcouragepodcast.com. Please, I would love for you guys to subscribe and rate us wherever you watch or listen. So if you're on YouTube, if you're on Apple, if you're on Spotify, whatever, hit that subscribe button. And there's also, if you're watching on YouTube, there's like going to be a button right here. Right here. Thanks, James.
Yeah.
Right over Allyson's face.
Right over my face. Yeah.
All right, you guys, thank you for tuning in. Allyson, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next week.